A plane crash can happen in just a few seconds. Sometimes it starts with a bad approach. Sometimes with a loss of control. Sometimes with a failure the pilot has almost no time to fix. In this video, we are looking at real aircraft accidents caught on camera. Not just the impact, but what investigators later found. We'll break down what happened, what the video does not show, and why each case became dangerous so fast. Let's begin. October 6th, 2020, Spirit Lake, Idaho. A small amphibious RANS S7 was taking off from a grass runway with two people on board. The airplane stayed low at first, then climbed above the trees. Seconds later, the wings began to rock, the airplane turned left, and dropped below the tree line. Investigators did not find this to be an engine failure. The video and audio showed the engine and propeller were still operating as the airplane lost altitude. The confirmed cause was a stall during the initial climb. The airplane exceeded its critical angle of attack, and at that low altitude, there was no room to recover. September 29th, 2021, Apopka, Florida. A Tecnam P-92 Eaglet was landing at Orlando Apopka Airport with two people on board. The landing did not stay stable. The airplane touched down, bounced, then touched down again. After that, it began a slow, nose-high climb while yawing to the right. Only a few seconds later, the left wing dropped. The airplane banked right, came down hard on the right main landing gear, then rolled back upright on all three wheels. It continued off the runway and hit a parked vehicle. Investigators found substantial damage to the fuselage. Both people on board were not injured. The confirmed NTSB finding was a loss of directional control during landing. The exact reason could not be determined. July 21st, 2018, Burnet, Texas. A Douglas DC-3 was beginning its takeoff roll for a flight to Wisconsin. The co-pilot was flying the takeoff. About 13 seconds after the roll began, the airplane drifted right. Then it swerved left, and the pilot took the controls. The airplane briefly lifted off, but it was slow. The pilot tried to bring it back toward the runway. Then the airplane stalled, rolled left, and hit the ground. A post-impact fire started after the airplane stopped, but everyone on board was able to get out. The NTSB found no evidence of a flight control or tailwheel failure. The probable cause was the co-pilot's failure to maintain directional control during the initial takeoff roll, and the pilot's delayed corrective action. That led to a brief liftoff and an aerodynamic stall. September 7th, 2019, near Carpenter, Wyoming. A small Champion 7G CBC had just taken off from a rough, dry field. The airplane was only about 100 to 200 feet above the ground when it started a left turn. The bank kept increasing, and the airplane turned about 180 degrees. Witnesses heard the engine running, and surveillance video showed the airplane continue into a steep left bank before it dropped nose down into the ground. Investigators found no mechanical problem that would have stopped the airplane or engine from working normally. The confirmed cause was an aerodynamic stall during the initial climb. The airplane exceeded its critical angle of attack at very low altitude, leaving no room to recover. October 31st, 2025, Dayton, Tennessee. APBY 5A Catalina was on a maintenance test flight. After takeoff, the crew saw hydraulic fluid leaking near the right main landing gear. They returned to land, and the gear appeared to be down and locked. After touchdown, the left main landing gear collapsed. The airplane veered off the runway, and the left wing struck a sign. The three people on board were not injured. Investigators found fatigue cracking in the left main landing gear actuator bolt. The bolt failed during the landing roll.
Damn.
February 27th, 2024, Sanford, Florida. A Cirrus SR-20 was returning from an instrument training flight. During a practice approach, the student pilot removed the view limiting device and saw the airplane was low. The instructor took control and added power, but the airplane kept sinking. Seconds later, the engine lost power. The airplane struck an unoccupied, parked aircraft short of the runway, came to rest in the grass, and caught fire. The student pilot was seriously injured. Investigators found no engine failure that would have stopped normal operation. The fuel selector was on the right tank, and that tank had almost no fuel left. The confirmed cause was fuel starvation from mismanagement of the available fuel. November 21st, 2023, Plano, Texas. A Mooney M-20C was approaching Air Park Dallas around dusk. The pilot lined up with the runway, then started a go-around. Witnesses saw the airplane climb, then the left wing dropped sharply. The airplane entered a steep nose-down descent and crashed into a shopping center parking lot. The pilot was fatally injured, and one person on the ground had minor injuries. Investigators found no mechanical failure that would have prevented normal operation. The confirmed cause was a stall during the go-around. The airplane exceeded its critical angle of attack in a climbing turn, and there was not enough altitude to recover. March 7th, 2023, Winter Haven, Florida. A Piper J-3C float plane was returning to Jack Brown's seaplane base. Nearby, a Piper PA-28 was practicing power-off 180 landings at Winter Haven Regional Airport. Just after the PA-28 pilot announced a left turn to base, the two airplanes collided nearly head-on above the lake east of runway 29. Both airplanes went down into the water. All 4 people on board were fatally injured. Investigators found no mechanical failure in either airplane before the collision. The confirmed cause was that both flight crews failed to see and avoid each other in the airport environment. July 20th, 2018, Todd Mission, Texas. A Bell 206B landed in a grass field so the passengers could change seats. After they switched places, the pilot lifted off again. Almost immediately, the helicopter began rotating to the right. The pilot applied full left pedal, but the helicopter kept spinning. The left skid hit the ground, and the helicopter rolled onto its left side. 2 people had minor injuries. The other 2 were not injured. Investigators found no mechanical failure before impact. The confirmed cause was passenger interference with the tail rotor pedals during takeoff.
Well, I can help. You okay?
We're okay.
Oh shit! Hang on.
Yes.
June 6th, 2024, Auburn, Washington. A Vans RV-12 was returning to Auburn Municipal Airport. In the traffic pattern, the pilot reported a flight control failure. Moments later, the airplane entered a descending left turn and struck the roof of a warehouse. The pilot was fatally injured. There was no fire. Investigators found the left control stick push rod had separated from the flaperon mixer bell crank. The cause was improper installation of the control stick push rod assemblies. The push rod slowly unscrewed over time until the pilot lost roll control in flight. July 6th, 2013, San Francisco, California. Asiana Flight 214 was on final approach to San Francisco International Airport. The airplane was lined up with runway 28 left, but it was too low and too slow. The crew expected the automatic system to hold the speed, but the airspeed kept falling. Seconds before impact, the crew tried to go around. It was too late. The airplane struck the seawall short of the runway, broke apart, and caught fire after it stopped. 3 passengers were fatally injured. Dozens more were seriously injured. The NTSB found that the crew mismanaged the approach, did not properly monitor airspeed, and delayed the go-around. December 2nd, 2020, Lufkin, Texas. A Cessna 551 landed at Angelina County Airport during rain. The airplane touched down about 1,000 feet down runway 16. Video showed a large amount of water on the runway. The airplane did not stop in time. It went off the end of the runway, crossed wet grass, hit a fence and a small ditch, and came to rest with the landing gear collapsed. The pilot and 2 passengers were not injured. Investigators found no mechanical problem with the brakes or anti-skid system. The confirmed issue was wet runway stopping distance. After touchdown, the airplane did not have enough runway left to stop. July 7th, 2018, Chicago, Illinois. An EC-135 P-1 air ambulance helicopter was maneuvering near Chicago at night. During the flight, both engines were no longer being controlled normally by their electronic engine control systems. The engine and rotor speeds increased beyond normal limits. The pilot entered auto-rotation and tried to land in an open area. The helicopter came down hard and was substantially damaged. The pilot and paramedic had minor injuries. The flight nurse was seriously injured. The patient was not injured. Investigators found no pre-impact mechanical failure. The confirmed cause was the pilot's inadvertent disabling of both engines' electronic engine control systems, which led to overspeed, auto-rotation, and a hard landing. August 5th, 2018, Santa Ana, California. A Cessna 414 was arriving at John Wayne Airport. The pilot first said he could not accept the shorter runway. Less than a minute later, he said he could take it, and was cleared for a left 270 turn into the traffic pattern. During the turn, the airplane slowed down and the bank increased. It entered a steep, nose-down descent and crashed into a shopping center parking lot. The pilot and 4 passengers were fatally injured. Investigators found no mechanical failure. The confirmed cause was failure to maintain enough airspeed while maneuvering in the traffic pattern. The airplane stalled and entered a spin too low to recover. February 22nd, 2023, Little Rock, Arkansas. A Beech B-200 had just taken off from Bill and Hillary Clinton National Airport. The initial climb looked normal at first. Then the airplane began losing speed and altitude. Seconds later, it rolled left and descended rapidly. The airplane crashed about 1 mile south of the runway, near a factory, and a post-impact fire followed. The pilot and 4 passengers were fatally injured. Investigators found no pre-impact mechanical failure in the airplane, engines, flight controls, or propellers. The confirmed NTSB cause was loss of control during the initial climb for undetermined reasons. Sudden wind shifts during the climb contributed to the accident. October 18th, 2022, Marietta, Ohio. A Beech E-90 was on final approach to Mid-Ohio Valley Regional Airport. The airplane had flown through icing conditions during the descent. It came out of the clouds on final approach and was cleared to land. Then it suddenly dropped into a steep, almost vertical descent and crashed into a car dealership parking lot. Both pilots were fatally injured. Several parked vehicles were hit, and a fire started after impact. Investigators found no pre-impact mechanical failure. The NTSB probable cause was structural icing on the tailplane. That led to a tailplane stall and loss of control. October 29th, 2023, Highgate, Vermont. A Piper PA-39 had just landed at Franklin County State Airport. During the landing roll, the pilot intended to retract the flaps, but instead selected the landing gear up. All 3 landing gear assemblies retracted into the wheel wells, and the airplane settled onto its lower fuselage. All 4 people on board were not injured, there was no fire, investigators found no pre-impact mechanical failure. The confirmed cause was the pilot's inadvertent retraction of the landing gear during the landing roll.
Oh my God.
February 14th, 2024, Mesa, Arizona. A Kit Fox 4 was landing at Falcon Field during its first test flight. After touchdown, the airplane bounced several times. The pilot added throttle, but the airplane veered left off the runway. Both wings were substantially damaged. The 2 people on board were not injured. There was no fire. Investigators found no mechanical failure or anomaly. The confirmed cause was the pilot's failure to maintain directional control during landing. April 24th, 2025, Hartford, Illinois. An MBBBK-117 air medical helicopter was taking off at night from a confined area near a fire station. During the initial climb, the helicopter drifted rearward. The tail rotor struck a tree. The helicopter rotated to the right, descended, and hit the ground. Post-impact fire started shortly after the crash. All 3 people on board were seriously injured. Investigators found the helicopter was taking off from an obstacle-surrounded area. The confirmed cause was the pilot's failure to maintain directional control during the initial climb, which led to the tree strike and loss of control.
Yeah, they are getting the practice in. Holy shit.
November 5th, 2022, San Diego, California. A Cirrus SR-20 was flying traffic pattern work at Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport. The student pilot was on final approach when the controller instructed him to sidestep left and go around. There was no response. The airplane overflew the runway at low altitude and high speed. It made several pitch up and pitch down movements, then climbed into a right turn near the departure end of the runway. Seconds later, the airplane rolled steeply right. The stall warning sounded, and the recording ended. The student pilot was fatally injured. There was no fire. Investigators found no mechanical failure that would have prevented normal operation. The confirmed cause was exceeding the critical angle of attack during the go-around after a non-stabilized approach. The airplane stalled too low to recover. September 26th, 2021, near Billings, Montana. A Beech S-35 was landing at a private airstrip at dusk. The runway had no lights, and witnesses said the airplane appeared slightly high and fast on final approach. The airplane floated down the runway, then touched down hard. It began moving left, and the pilot attempted to go around. The airplane continued off the runway, struck trees, and caught fire after impact. 2 passengers were fatally injured. The pilot was seriously injured. Investigators found no mechanical failure before impact. The official report found that an improper flare led to a hard landing, loss of control, and collision with trees. August 1st, 2017, Bullard, Texas. A Cessna 150F was on an instructional flight near Tarrant Field Airport. After a full-stop landing on the grass runway, the instructor and student taxied back for a soft field takeoff. A dash camera later showed the airplane flying just above the trees. It began a right turn, then the left wing and nose dropped. The airplane descended nose low and struck the ground near the highway. The student pilot was seriously injured. The flight instructor had minor injuries. There was no fire. Investigators found no mechanical problem that would have prevented normal operation. The NTSB found that a partial loss of engine power from carburetor icing reduced the airplane's performance. The pilot could not maintain enough airspeed, and the airplane stalled during the initial climb. July 3rd, 2015, Shenandoah, Texas. A Cessna 172D was flying a personal flight near Houston. During cruise flight, the engine began running rough and losing power. The pilot applied carburetor heat, set the mixture full rich, and checked that both fuel tanks were selected. The engine did not recover. Moments later, it lost power completely. The pilot made a forced landing in a vacant parking lot near a sports stadium. During the landing roll, the airplane hit a concrete curb. The nose landing gear collapsed, and the airplane came to rest inverted. The pilot had minor injuries. There was no fire. Investigators found no mechanical failure that would have prevented normal engine operation. The NTSB found that carburetor heat was applied too late. Carburetor ice had already reduced engine power, and the flight ended in a forced landing. April 18th, 2019, Fullerton, California. A Beech B-60 was taking off from Fullerton Municipal Airport. The airplane lifted off much earlier than expected. About 2 seconds after rotation, it began rolling left. Only a few seconds later, the airplane was about 80 feet above the ground in a steep left bank. The nose dropped, the airplane rolled inverted, and it struck the ground near the runway. The pilot was fatally injured. The airplane was destroyed by impact and fire. Investigators found no engine or airframe failure that would have prevented normal operation. Surveillance video showed the elevator was almost fully nose up during taxi and takeoff. The NTSB found that the pilot used an unapproved elevator control lock device, did not remove it before flight, and did not correctly position the elevator before takeoff.